For more on the Chinese tariffs, let's bring in Peter Brookes, a senior fellow for national security affairs at the Heritage Foundations. Peter, always good to see you.
Good to be with you.
So it's a delay, but what is, kicking the can down the road to March, maybe? What does that really achieve?
Well, you got them back to the table. They're going to start talks immediately. They weren't doing that at a substantive level before this. The Chinese are also going to buy a substantial amount of American goods. Eric, we don't know exactly what that is or how much that is, but I'm hoping it'll bring some relief to our farmers, especially on things like soybeans. China, I think, buys a third of the American crop, soybean crop. So there could be some good news in that respect. The Chinese said we've gotten China's attention, right? I mean, this is something they hadn't agreed to before. And now there's an opportunity, and the president has also put a timeline on it. He didn't say we're going to, we're okay for 9 months or a year or forever. We're only okay for 90 days. If we're seeing progress, the president could extend that. If not, he increases the tariffs against Chinese goods coming into the United States.
So do you think that President Xi, as we see the president sitting with his advisors on one side of the table and the Chinese president on the other, do you think the Chinese officials were surprised that they basically were not used to a blunt business type dealing, that this president, it seems, means what he says, and they're getting a different deal than they have from administrations in the past?
I think you said it correctly. I think that's the case. I mean, these issues that we're trying to deal with, intellectual property, trade barriers, subsidies to state-owned enterprises, the lack of a judicial system where we can get redress on commercial issues. I mean, you know the list of things that we're dealing with. These have been around for a long time, and President Trump finally said enough is enough. And we need relief on this. And if we don't get relief, then we're going to get tough. So, yeah, I think the Chinese are quite surprised. I mean, these are the world's 2 largest economies. Think about it. Everybody's watching this. And if the Chinese don't want to give us a level playing field, then we're going to make it tougher for them. And now, we all want free trade, but we got to have free, and fair trade. In other words, we need access to the Chinese market. They can't have, access to our market while we can't have access to theirs on an equitable basis. So I think the president certainly got their attention, and we could see some progress. I mean, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a heavy lift. There's no question about that. But I think, this is a good sign.
Yeah, you know what Vince Lombardi said. I mean, it's a yard at a time, right? You can't always throw the
Hail
big
Mary,
bomb,
right.
the Hail Mary, exactly. But of course, there's criticism. Matt Cartwright, he's a Democratic congressman from Pennsylvania. The Keystone State hit so hard all through all these years. Here's what Congressman Cartwright said about the meeting. Take a listen.
Okay.
I think this is classic Donald Trump negotiating, stepping back from deals, not being that interested in this or that. He's been an effective negotiator in the sense that he's not wedded to a deal, and he can step away from a position at any moment. And I think this is classic, what he has done to extend that by 90 days. Let's follow that out. Let's see how it works.
I guess the congressman's point of view is, it's a classic negotiating tactic, but, what happens at the very end?
Well, we don't know, but I think there are some positive scenarios, as I pointed out just previously. So I think, some of this criticism, Eric, is going to be political, right? There's no question about that. So let's see what we can get out of this. We've got the Chinese to the table. We've gotten their attention. They know what happens in 90 days. If we have some progress within those 90 days, maybe we'll extend that if we feel like we're going to get somewhere. But this is a very heavy lift, and thankfully, an American president is really taking the Chinese on these inequities in our trade relationship.
And do you think that the inequities will be addressed sufficiently? I mean, look, in some ways, they've got the ball. We do because of our economic power, but they've also got the ball by these unfair trade practices that they've engaged in decades.
Yeah, they're not going to go away from them. They're not going to go away from them willingly. Eric, that's why this pressure is very important. But we have seen the Chinese economy grow at its slowest pace in, I think, about 10 years now, 9 to 10 years. So they're concerned about this. Remember, the Chinese have a social contract with their people that, you let us handle the political reins here with the Chinese Communist Party if we increase the standard of living, your standard of living. And if the growth isn't what it should be, then the Chinese people will be feeling it. And I think China's economy is feeling it. So the fact is that there's going to have to be some sort of compromise on the part of the Chinese if they want this world's biggest trading relationship to continue and to be of some benefit to them.
Yeah, you just pointed out something that President Xi, certainly, I guess, kind of president for life now, certainly doesn't want. Peter Brookes, Peter, always good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Of course. Right, Thel?
Eric, well, a call